He was 130 pounds of white dog, and he had decided something about this baby. Nobody asked him to. Nobody knew how to tell him to stop. They thought the Great Pyrenees had decided the Toddler was his flock. They were right about the instinct. They were wrong about why it mattered that night. Glacé was 5 years old and roughly the size of a small sofa in motion. He had been acquired before the baby by people who had read about Great Pyrenees and misunderstood the breed the way many people did. Expecting a gentle giant and receiving instead a guardian dog with 400 years of independent working judgment bred into a skeleton, he was gentle. He was also, when he made a decision, immovable by conventional means. These two qualities coexisted peacefully in a household that had learned to negotiate rather than direct. The baby's name was Theo. He was 20 months old, sturdy, relentlessly mobile, with the particular physical confidence of a toddler who has not yet experienced a consequence significant enough to slow him down. He adored Glacé with the wholehearted certainty of a small child who has identified a preferred large object and intends to be near it as much as possible. The normal behavior between them, Glacé following at a comfortable distance, positioning himself near whatever play area Theo occupied, occasionally offering his substantial flank as a resting surface, and accepting with measured dignity whatever Theo did to his fur in return, was not the behavior that started in October. What started in October was perimeter work. Lianne noticed it first. Glacé began circling the property line, not once, not in the morning the way he sometimes did. He was doing it in the afternoon, in the evening at intervals through the night, that the motion-sensitive porch light logged without Lianne or her husband David initially understanding the log's significance. He circled the fence line with the methodical consistency of a dog who has identified a threat and is mapping its boundaries. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you are in the right place. Subscribe so you do not miss the next one. David thought it was a response to a neighbor's cat that had been using their fence top as a transit route. Lianne thought it might be seasonal restlessness. They agreed it was probably not significant and agreed to monitor it. They were both wrong about what Glacé was monitoring. On the second Thursday of October, Theo was playing in the backyard in the late afternoon. Lianne was on the back porch within sightline. Glacé was beside Theo, which was his normal position. Then, without any prior cue that Lianne could identify, Glacé stepped directly in front of Theo and stopped, not beside him, in front of him, facing the rear left corner of the fence. His body was rigid in a way she had seen it rigid before, years ago when a coyote had tested the property line at 2 a.m. This was that posture. Theo tried to walk around him. Glacé moved. He matched every lateral attempt Theo made, maintaining his position between the toddler and the corner. Lianne came off the porch. Has your dog ever done something that made no sense until it was the only thing that made sense? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. In the corner of the fence, where the aging cedar boards met the concrete foundation at a gap that had widened over the winter, there was a copperhead. Coiled, motionless, the coloring so close to the fallen leaves that Lianne had looked at that corner twice in the previous week without seeing it. She took Theo inside immediately. She called animal control. The officer who arrived was named Raymond Castellano, 16 years in wildlife response. He assessed the snake as an adult female copperhead, full-grown, and confirmed she had been sheltering in the fence gap. He was matter-of-fact about the prognosis for a toddler bitten by a full-grown copperhead who did not receive antivenom within 45 minutes in a neighborhood at their distance from the pediatric emergency center. He said the word serious twice. Glacé had been circling that fence corner for 3 weeks. He had known the snake was there for 3 weeks. He had been telling them for 3 weeks. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never asked for anything in return. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. The fence was repaired. The gap was sealed. Wildlife Control confirmed no other snakes in the immediate area and provided guidance on the seasonal patterns of copperhead shelter seeking in their region, late September through early November. Gap and debris searches recommended before children played in enclosed yard spaces. David sealed 2 additional gaps he found on his own inspection of the fence perimeter. He found them by walking the same line Glacé had been walking for 3 weeks and asking himself what the dog was looking at. Glacé has not resumed the perimeter behavior. He is back to his normal position, beside Theo, or in front of Theo when in front of Theo is where the moment requires him to be. He accepts his role as preferred large object with the same measured dignity he has always applied to the work. Lianne sat on the back porch on the evening after the fence was repaired and watched Glacé lying in the yard with Theo climbing on his back in the unhurried way that Theo climbed on everything. And she thought about the word serious and the 3 weeks of perimeter walking. In the afternoon she had looked at that corner twice and seen leaves. Glacé turned his head and looked at her from the yard. She looked back. He held her gaze for a moment with the pale, patient eyes of a dog who has been doing his job as long as anyone could ask. And then he turned back to the yard and to Theo and to the fence line he was already quietly watching again. Thank you for watching The Animal Within. New stories every week. If this one moved you, subscribe. If you have a story of your own, an animal who knew something before you did, leave it in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard.